Hello.
Hello. Hello. Oh no.
Welcome back. It's good to see you. I've already tried to record this once, but, the audio was trash, so I'm going to do it again. I've been doing a lot of, and by I mean a lot of turn-based games, so I decided I'd take a step back and do one of my favorite games ever made, which is The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. We got a lot to get into, so let's just get into it. The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom is actually an action-adventure, not an RPG, but it does have RPG elements. With that being said, it doesn't have a normal level-up system that RPGs usually have. You go fight some monsters. You go, boop, level up, and then all your stats raise. No, we don't do that. Instead, you go through these shrines, you get these little power-ups, either a heart or a stamina thingy.
What is this?
And you use those at these goddess statues, and you boost either your health or your stamina. Stamina helps you climb, health makes you not die. So pretty simple, right? The best parts of this game are the huge open world. It is massive open world. I mean, we all thought Breath of the Wild was big. This is 3 times bigger, and I mean, well, more like 2.4 times bigger maybe, because, you've got the ground, which, Hyrule with a number of changes, and then you got the depths, which is the under Hyrule, which is basically a mirror of the main Hyrule. And then you got the sky, and there's a lot of sky. Not a ton to do in the sky once you kind of get down to the nitty gritty, at least not compared to the ground and the depths, because there's a lot to do on either of those. But there's still a sky, and there's still stuff to do. As far as the battle mechanics go, it's the same as in Breath of the Wild. You find some monsters, you beat them up with sticks and stuff, but now you can fuse stuff to those sticks and stuff and make them stronger, so you hit monsters harder. So they drop stuff, and you use the stuff they drop to fuse to more sticks and stuff, so that way your sticks and stuff continually get stronger. That was a lot. I lost track.
Where am I? What year is it? Is The Rock president?
Anyway, this game has a lot to it. Obviously, there's the big map. There's still your monsters, your Bokoblins, your Moblins, your Lynels, they're still around. Your Hinoxes, they're still around. And now we have Gleeoks. Gleeoks are some of my favorite. They hit like trucks. But they're super, super cool, and the fight isn't particularly hard. But it is fun to do. So you got several kinds of Gleeoks now, and the monsters are updated, and as you progress in your character level, so as your stamina and your health go up, the monsters will go from, your red Bokoblins, which are your easiest to take care of, all the way up to your white Bokoblins, which are kind of a nuisance. A lot of health on those guys, and they hit really, really hard. So just in the ground itself, there's a lot to do. In the sky, you run into Zonai, both good and bad. They're pretty entertaining, and everybody drops stuff for you to fuse with. Okay, let's talk about the fusion, because we've mentioned it a few times now. In this game, you'll find stuff all over the world, and whether you can fuse it to weapons or not, most things you can, but you'll have degraded weapons, and you'll find something and be like, hey, I wonder if I can attach this. So you pull out your little fusion thing, and you attach it to a sword, a shield, or some arrows, and guess what? Your stuff powered up. Now, same thing with attaching objects together. You'll also get Zonai objects that you can use for different things, and that will allow for more creativity. There's a lot that you can do in this game, and it makes it very fun. I still turn on and just play every now and then just to see what I can do. I'm like, you know what? Let's explore the world, but let's do it in a weird way now.
Now this is pod racing.
We mentioned shrines earlier, and that's how you get your power-ups. There's 150 shrines in this game now, up from the 120 there were in Breath of the Wild, and they're a lot more varied now, because there's just more that you can do with the Zonai powers as you could with the Breath of the Wild Sheikah Slate powers. You don't have the magnetic, you just have sort of a telekinetic pickup. You can pick up anything that can be picked up anyway. You can shoot through ceilings, which is pretty cool. Very handy way of moving up and down in the world.
You raise me up.
There's fusion mechanic. You can take pictures. There's a lot that you can do. There's a lot of possibility in this game, which I think is what makes this game probably my favorite Zelda. Is not only is it Zelda, it's Zelda with creativity. So what makes it Zelda? Well, not only the heart containers and stamina stuff, there's so many other things. Koroks. Koroks are everywhere. You'll find Koroks literally everywhere. The dungeons are a big plus in this game. I love the dungeon design now. Breath of the Wild, all the dungeons felt very samey with some minor changing mechanics with each one, and all the bosses were basically just a blight Ganon of some sort. This time, there's actually some differences. The bosses are very creative, some of them a little better than others. Every boss is a lot of fun to take down. The dungeons themselves are all very creative and very different. Going through the Wind Temple, you're kind of up in the sky, bouncing off all these sail ships in the sky, and it's such a creative idea. The Fire Temple, similarly, but you're not bouncing on ships, you're underground and navigating mines. That's actually really cool. All in all, every dungeon felt different enough that it just brought back that feeling of traditional Zelda while still maintaining the new stuff that came with Breath of the Wild. Some of the issues this game has, I still hate the breakable weapons mechanic. That drives me crazy. I hate pulling out a sword, enjoying that sword, and then the sword snapping, and I'm like, well, what do I do now? Then I have to fuse another one, and then I have to go and find monster parts to fuse the same one, and it just becomes a problem. Thankfully, there's a way around it now. With bows, it's a little bit different. There really isn't a way around it with bows. Once your bow breaks, you kind of have to go and get a new one. So I don't like the breaking weapons mechanic. I've never liked it, but hey, there's somewhat of a way around it now. The other big issue this game has is the item navigation. It's very clunky. It takes forever to get to the item that you want to fuse when you're like shooting arrows or when you just want to throw an item. It takes forever to get to the items you need.
Six and a half hours later.
That is a big problem that this game has, is there's just no easy way to select the item that you want to fuse with. When you're in the middle of a battle, you have to pause it, and it just takes forever to get to it. There's also a lot of stuff to find other than Koroks and shrines. You gotta find wells, and you gotta find caves, and the caves are one of my favorite parts. I remember every time I would get the Skyrim fever, I'd honestly just turn on Tears of the Kingdom because I had everything that Skyrim had, which is, you know, the open world. You'd find caves, you'd find side quests, and Tears of the Kingdom had that. It had all of that, and honestly, I think it did it better. So the caves are usually not very deep or in depth, but there's enough there, and there's plenty of wells to find, and there's things that you can get from finding the wells. There's a person that wants you to find all the wells in the world. There's a lot that this game wants you to do. And there's a lot of side quests that you can do. There's so much that this game has to offer in terms of gameplay. Now for the story. This story had like head and shoulders much better storytelling than Breath of the Wild. Tears of the Kingdom definitely starts off with a pretty big hit. You know, you have Link and Zelda going in under Hyrule Castle because there's all this gloom floating up. They find a mummy with a hand stuck on its chest. Disembodied hand falls off, mummy wakes up, Zelda falls down a cliff, Link loses his arm, and Link gets sucked away by the disembodied hand and wakes up in the sky with a new arm because his arm was kaput, and now you have superpowers, and you're also in the sky, so you got to figure that out, and now you got to figure out how to get Zelda back. Turns out she went to the past to save the future. Dragons are involved in this game. I'm not going to spoil that anywhere. Ganondorf is one of the best boss fights I think there's ever really been in a Zelda game, and there's multiple phases of the Ganondorf boss fight, and every phase felt like it was just a little bit better than the last, and the final boss fight is probably one of the most epic I've ever seen. There's a lot to the story. You have to unlock sages in order to have an easier time beating Ganondorf, and the sages I think were a lot better than the champions. Granted, they're all descendants of the champions in some way, shape, or form, except for Sidon. He's a sibling of a champion, but he's a sage, which we all like Sidon. And overall, like, the story really was much better. There's more to it. If you want to dodge a story, you can. Most of the story beats you catch by finding all these glyphs throughout the world. And if you want to avoid the glyphs, you can definitely do that and just ignore the story, just go with the gameplay. Most of the sage cutscenes that happen after each temple are all very samey, so you can skip those without really losing anything. This is one of those games that if you want to dive into the story, you can. If you don't want to dive into the story, you can ignore it entirely. Now, we're going to move on really quickly We're going to go to the music. As far as music goes, both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom have a very atmospheric style, except with Breath of the Wild it was very flittery. You'd hear the piano flitter every now and then, but most of the sound was basically just the atmosphere itself. In Tears of the Kingdom, the music becomes the atmosphere. I like to call it soundscape. It actually contributes to the world that you're in and the area that you're in. So the music itself is almost its own character, sort of fleshing the world out a little bit more. Now, I should also add that the world itself feels very much alive. There's characters moving all over the world. There's a lot of interaction with the environments, with monsters. There's just a lot more involvement in this than there was previously in Breath of the Wild, and it makes the world feel so much more lived in. Now, as far as the aesthetic goes, it's very similar to Breath of the Wild, minus a few tweaks here and there. I do really like the cel-shaded style. It has sort of a semi-cartoony style on one side with a touch of realism on the other, and the thing I like about it is the way the artistic direction goes. It feels like the dark stuff can be emphasized while not being taken away from through a cel-shaded art style, which that takes some serious talent. It is honestly very beautiful. Now, just some final thoughts. Probably one of the best games I've ever played. Gameplay-wise, there are some hiccups, particularly in the item sorting. I should also mention that the Sage afterthought shadow things
What?
tend to get in the way a lot. But as far as the gameplay goes, there really isn't that much to complain about. There's just little things, but they're just enough of a nuisance that it does annoy me a great deal and kind of pulls me out of the immersion a little bit. The story is really good. The music is atmospheric. It really helps build the world itself. And the game really is beautiful. And if you play the Switch 2 version, it looks even better. So there's that. So I'm going to put my score of the game up on the screen for you to look at. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. It was a longer one, I think. I like talking about Tears of the Kingdom as often as I can. I like talking about Zelda as often as I can. And it was nice to kind of take a break from, the turn-based stuff. I hope you liked the video today. I hope you'll stick around. We'll see you next time. If you haven't, leave a comment, because if I get enough comments, I like to do comment response videos. And with all that said and done, we'll see you next time.